Hello there, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're talking about patches again. Specifically, we're going to be talking about a new technique I am going to be testing with regards to making patches that have no fabric border showing. So currently, when I make my patches, most of my patches are done black fabric base, and I just do a black satin stitch border. So from a distance, it looks fine, but if you look really up close, you can see the fabric here. So once the patch is done sewing, I'll just kind of take scissors and cut around the side because it's black on black. From a distance, I think it looks fine and most people don't care. However, I do sometimes do patches with a different color border. I'll do gold or white fabric, and then a black border. And there's really no way around it where you're going to still see the fabric around the edges, which I think kind of looks fine, but I think it would look better if there was no border. So I've seen a couple videos recently on YouTube where people have been creating the patches with no border, and I'm going to try that and see how it works. So first, talking about what you need to get started, you're going to need some scissors. This is optional, but basting spray, I think, makes it a lot easier when you're securing a patch down. And then I'm using water-soluble stabilizer. I'm using it because it is easy to pull the patch off. There are two kinds of water-soluble stabilizers. There's this kind, which I'm using, which is basically like plastic. It's kind of like a shower curtain almost. And then there's more of a fabric mesh kind. This is the one we do not want to be using because this will not tear easily once the edges are perforated. So just keep that in mind. I have seen people who use this method use things other than water soluble stabilizers, such as like maybe they are using a shower curtain or just some thick plastic sheets they got at the local hardware store. I don't know, but that just seems kind of strange. It feels kind of scary using something that wasn't made for machine embroidery on my embroidery machine. So because I'm testing this method out, I'm going to be using the actual embroidery water soluble stabilizer for fear of messing up my machine. And lastly, you're going to need your patch. So when we are making borderless patch here, I have stopped the stitching on the last step before the border is stitched out. This is a patch that I was commissioned to make from a local artist. Shout out Ink Drop Kittens. And the last step is just going to be a gold border. But what we're going to do is cut out the patch. And then I have here, this is the water soluble stabilizer. I'd hooped it. We're going to take this to the machine. It's going to stitch out an outline. And with the cutout patch, we place it on top and then the border sews. After that, we should, in theory, just be able to pop out the patch and it gives us a nice clean borderless patch. So first, let me get this cut out. Okay, so I have cut my patch out. Now, I'm just going to take this over to the machine and get my outline stitch sewed out. And we're back. So I had the machine just stitch out the circle. And this is an extra step I had to do in digitizing after the last part of the inner patch sewed out. I added this extra step. So this is something I would not have done if I was just doing my patches the normal way. So I have my outline here. Then we're going to place this down around the circle, take it back to the machine, and it will sew the border. But one extra step I'm doing here, I said this basting spray was optional. So this is like a sticky spray. It's not glue because it's not permanent glue, but I think it does make it easier to hold the patch down when the border is being sewn. What I'm going to do is turn the patch wrong side facing up. I'm just going to give this a few sprays. Now coming back over here, this is kind of sticky now, and we can place it on, making sure the outline is not showing, just like that. So now it's kind of semi-stuck on there. I know sometimes I've seen people when they're doing this, once it's sewing, they're kind of using pens or rollers to hold the patch in place, but I like to keep my hands as far away from the moving needles as possible. Now let's take this back to the machine and see how the border sews out. I'm just stopping the machine here before it finishes to show you what happened after the first outline ran, and it did a zigzag stitch to kind of secure the patch. And then it's going to finish doing a nice satin stitch. And if everything goes well, when it's done, you should just be able to pop the patch out. Okay, so our patch is finished stitching out. So let's take a look here. So I think upon first glance, everything looks nice. However, I do notice this part right here. There's kind of a break, and I'm not sure why. I wonder if because the fabric ended and it had to hook on to the plastic. I don't like how it looks. We'll see how it looks when I take it out. Back looks fine except for this part here. But now is moment of truth. So I should just be able to pop this out, and I'm going to leave this on the hoop so I have some tension pushing down. And this seems pretty easy. Just pops right out. Okay, let's take a look here. So this area that I was concerned about actually looks like it's smoothing out once I've taken it off. So we still have this part of the water soluble stabilizer, which I guess technically I could take it off, but I'm going to be covering this with iron-on backing. So I'm just going to leave it as is. But taking a look here, I think it actually looks pretty nice. I like it. So what I use this method moving forward, we compare it to this patch. So both of these have a gold outline. And usually when I'm doing black fabric with gold outline, you would see an outline of the black fabric. Obviously, I do think this one looks a lot nicer when you don't see the black in the background. So I do like it for that. However, when it comes to something that is having a black outline, so this patch here for comparison is me cutting around it, and you can't really tell the fabric is there unless you look close. I also did this one, I did this with the same method as I did this patch earlier to test it. And I did mess up a little bit here. I didn't cut the fabric short enough. But if we compare these two, so when I'm doing black fabric with a black border, this is the one I cut. This is the one I did the water soluble stabilizer. And they kind of look the same. So I don't know if it's worth it if I'm doing black on black. It's much easier to just cut around it than it is to do this, because then I have to do that extra step of digitizing the outline and tack it down to the water soluble stabilizer. So I think I will use this method when I have my border satin is a different color from the fabric, so it doesn't show up. But actually, that was a lot easier than I thought it would be. And I'm pretty happy with it turned out. The only thing is I need to look into is this water soluble stabilizer is significantly expensive, I think, for this size. And just to show you the brand I'm using, I got this at Joann, Ultra Solvi. This is the heavy. It does come in two sizes, but this size is actually too short. It doesn't really cover. So I had to get this long one. This cost, I think it was $37 for 8 yards. I did have a coupon, so I was able to get it for about $20. But given the cost, I'm going to have to look into cheaper methods if it's something I'm going to be using moving forward. But I hope you found that useful. If you do try this technique out, let me know how it goes.